You're listening to the Night Demon Network. Go to nightdemon.net/subscriber to unlock more exclusive content.
Hello and welcome to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. I'm your host Nesbit. And 2 weeks after the Frost and Fireland Festival in Limerick, Night Demon descends on Madison, Wisconsin for the Blades of Steel Festival. This is Night Demon on the road.
Blades of Steel Metal Festival is a festival in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or Madison, Wisconsin specifically. It's put on by Randy Kastner, who's been around for many years as a promoter and big supporter of heavy metal in general. I have a great memory playing his festival back when it was the NYDM Spring Bash. Now it's Blades of Steel Festival, and it's stronger than ever. It's a more grassroots, smaller fest. It's not like gigantic bands or anything. It's more for underground metalheads. But this year, the first night, Night Demon was the headliner, and the second night, Cirith Ungol was the headliner.
Blades of Steel Metal Fest, run by the one and only Randy Kastner. Blades of Steel is, I would say, one of the big four of the underground metal fests in the U.S. Taking place in Madison, Wisconsin.
This guy, Randy Kastner, books the festival, the Blades of Steel Metal Fest in Madison. It used to be called Spring Bash. We had done it years before. I think it was in Milwaukee, though. No, it moved to Madison to this venue called the Crucible. Randy's a super cool guy. We've known him for years. He's been a staple in the metal scene. And it was cool. He wanted to bring out Cirith Ungol and Night Demon, so it was awesome. We did the Night Demon headline the first night.
Yeah, I took a flight on my own to Madison because Night Demon's playing Thursday, the 29th. Jarvis was in Ireland. Brian was in Florida, so we all met there on Wednesday evening.
Me personally, I was at home before this festival. I flew out just for this one. I think we all did. This is just a one-off in the middle of kind of a break, I guess. A small break, if you can even call it that.
Yeah, so we came in the day before. We flew this amazing airline, Breeze Airways. Do you remember Breeze Airways?
They were great. There was insane legroom for everybody.
it was like insane legroom, yeah. Right? We
were treated like real people.
Yeah, it was like some new airline never heard of. So we got there the night before. Randy picked us up. We went to get some Mexican food. Went to our hotel. Just had a chill night.
So yeah, got there that night, and I think I met up with the Blind Oath guys who had driven up from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Funny enough, I actually ended up playing drums with them on Friday. I will get to that.
For this show, my buddy Chris Andrews, who is the tour manager for Cirque du Soleil and Master Chef, and he tours with this ABBA tribute band as a tour manager. He's this killer sound guy. I worked with him previously when I played for Yngwie Malmsteen. He was tour manager and a sound man for that, and he's been bugging me to do some, metal bands lately, and I was like, well, hey, we got this festival with Cirith Ungol and Night Demon, and why don't you come on out and do sound for us? So he came out for that and met everybody in the camp, and that was cool. He did a great job. He always does. He's a great sound guy.
So yeah, that night, hung out with the boys and Blind Oath, and we went out to get some late night snacks at Taco Bell that we found. It actually was one of those Taco Bell cantinas. The memorable little note there. We pulled up to the drive-thru and we ordered our stuff, and then this guy was like sitting on the curb, comes up to the van and starts yelling at Miller about something, asking for money or some shit, and then the guy in the drive-thru window like totally stuck his head out the window and started yelling at the dude back, telling him to fuck off and get the fuck out of here and all this shit. And then the one guy that was begging for stuff was like, he was asking if he knew us and all this shit, and basically he just wanted us to buy him a bean burrito because they wouldn't let him walk up to the window because he didn't have a car. So if I would have known it was that simple, we would have just got him a bean burrito. I mean, what's the harm in that? But anyway, I'll send you a little clip of that. It's a pretty funny moment. So that's it. Just kind of hung out that night, got situated in a hotel, and went to sleep to get some rest for the next show, the big headlining Night Demon set, Thursday, August 29th.
Woke up the next day, went to the show, did a sound check before doors, which was really nice. Everything seemed to be going pretty well.
The venue was the Crucible in Madison, Wisconsin. Actually, pretty cool setup. Perfect size, I thought. They had a big room, could probably hold, like 800 people, maybe a little bit more. It was one of those kind of warehouse venues, on the edge of town. Big bar on one side, a big outdoor patio. People could smoke and drink and hang out and do all that good stuff.
No, it was a cool place. It was way cooler than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, there's like lots of horror stuff on the walls. They do like drag shows and stuff. So it's a bit like alternative and out there. It was fun.
Great lineup. Some friends, a lot of friends on the billing here. On our night, Nervosa, Lich King, Hatred, Maniacal Forest, Tundra. The next day, opened up with Blind Oath, which yours truly played drums on their set. Sanhedrin, good friends from New York City, always helping us out when we end up out there playing with Cirith Ungol. And Dexter Ward, our boys from Greece, Athens, Manolis, who does the Up to Hammers Festival. It's his band. I remember those guys were super, super excited because it was their first time playing in the States. So it was cool watching those guys. It was a great set, and it was really emotional for them. So real proud of them making it out. And then, of course, the Cirith Ungol set. Oh yeah, I do want to mention Bloodstar. They were supposed to play on Saturday, but unfortunately they couldn't make it because Maddie, the singer, had a bit of an accident doing some hiking, and she broke her leg pretty bad, so they weren't able to make it out, which was a huge bummer. We always love hanging out with that crew.
But it's always great to play Randy's festival. He puts it on well. He usually gets a good turnout and takes care of the bands well. So, we love you, Randy. Thanks for doing what you do.
So the morning of the 29th, we got up. I went out, met with the Blind Oath guys, went and got some breakfast at a nice little cafe in town. Went back to the hotel, and I think we got the call. Now this involves Cirith Ungol. Randy called Jarvis and said, hey, you know that the flights are canceled. The flights with the Cirith Ungol guys are all canceled. What's up with that? Do you know anything about that? And he's like, no, have no idea. Now, this whole time, leading up to this, there had been some issues with Greg Lindstrom not being able to make it to a lot of these shows that we did over the summer. Pretty much the last time he played with the band was at Hell's Heroes earlier in the year. So every other show after that, all the European stuff, he couldn't make. So, there was a bit of an air that, something was going to happen and he wasn't going to make it again to this show, even though he had said he was definitely going to come out. So we get the call, and Jarvis calls me and comes over to my room, and we both look at each other and we're like, man, I bet you it's something to do with Greg. So I told him, why don't you just call him right now and see what's going on, because the Ungol guys were already on their way to the airport back in California. It was a pretty early flight in the morning, so, we were trying to figure out what the hell happened here. So sure enough, we called Greg and he says, guys, I think I screwed up. We're like, yeah, I think you did, didn't you? Turns out he went to cancel his flight, and since all the other guys were on the same reservation, he canceled everybody's flight. So as you can imagine, that was a huge problem.
They basically had their flight canceled, and they were not able to... basically, somebody who couldn't make the trip tried to cancel their flight online and accidentally canceled all the flights from all the members right when they were getting to the airport, which is about a 2-hour drive from where they live. So it was not a good situation. It was a total accident. But the thing is, they tried to... The flights that were canceled within, a few hours before the flight were already immediately rebought by other people. So there was no room on that flight. There was no room on any flights that day.
It's been an ongoing thing with him, not knowing why he cancels these shows or whatever, but at this point it was just like, okay, whatever. Well, listen, we got to talk to the guys and figure out what's going on, because they got to be there, So anyway, we talked to the guys. They were down at the airport, and sure enough, the airline immediately sold their tickets right away. As soon as they saw that the flights, they canceled their reservations, the airline turned around and sold those tickets right away. So the guys couldn't get on that same flight, which meant they had to go back home and spend another $1,000, $1,500 or something like that, and then take another flight early the next morning, which was the morning of their set, which wasn't the plan. Like we do, we always like to get to the venue or get to the city the day before to kind of decompress and just get the vibe of the place and relax and not have to be rushed. Well, that all changed now, so that's what they had to do. So super bummer about that. Besides that, the Night Demon show went really well.
The show was pretty good. We hadn't played for a little bit and hadn't had any rehearsals for that one. But we're always, professionals. We know what we're doing and we know how to play with each other. And, it's just this kind of musical companionship. We can just walk in a room and play well together. We're pretty in sync, I think, at this point, especially when we've played as much as we have.
remember feeling like very triumphant, like we really played well. Again, it was one of those things where we hadn't played with each other since, I guess it would have been the Frost and Fireland set. So, I think we probably ran through a couple of songs at soundcheck, and, being the well-oiled machine that we are, we just kicked some fucking major ass that night.
The show went pretty good. I think we played a little bit fast that night, but that's just my fault, I guess. But no, it was a good show. It was great to play Blades of Steel again, and I have no complaints.
Did our show, and it was great. I mean, we had a pretty cool set list picked out. This is another one of those things that a lot of people fly in for, which is nice. I don't think there was many local Madisonites there, right? Set list was Prelude, Outsider, Obsidian, Beyond the Grave, Rebirth, Escape from Beyond, Awake, The Wrath. So the entire Outsider album in sequence. We said we wouldn't do that on festivals anymore, but indoors it works. Welcome to the Night, Dawn Rider, Screams in the Night, The Howling Man, Black Widow by request, The Chalice, Night Demon. Pretty solid set. I remember feeling really good about it. At one point on stage, I remember I had like a professional manager moment where I told the stagehand, hey, turn the lights off at the merch tables, because they were like blaring to the stage. So on the black parts, it wasn't completely black, and it bothered me, and they did it right away, and I was like, that's so cool, like, because I was like, yeah. Normally I try and seek that stuff out before, but if I'm not watching a band before or whatever, I miss it, you know. But
well, I suppose they were around kind of three sides of the room, and they were fairly close to the stage. Like, you know, it wasn't a huge place, so it did make an impact when you had.
But they were really bright lights.
Like 8 or 10 tables.
They were really bright lights, and they were shining out. You know what I mean? So I noticed it on the first blackout, and I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work. So just had a quick conversation while I had a little break on stage that nobody saw, so that was nice. But no, I was really proud, and I was. We brought our friend Chris, Brian's friend Chris, to do sound. So we had a sound man there because the Joals weren't there, and you did great lights, even though it was challenging on their board with their system. And
it was challenging. It was all a touchscreen thing, which can be different in terms of how responsive it is and stuff. And just when it's someone else's board and it's set up differently, you know. But luckily, this might have been the last show that I did on someone else's board, because for the next tour, then the following month, I had my first board. So,
you're right, absolutely.
Yeah. But it was good, and like the venue staff were very cool and very helpful about it. So
absolutely, it went really well.
One thing Cirith Ungol always requires when playing live is a gong, and it's kind of my dream as a drummer to have a gong behind the drum set at all times, if possible. But one was provided for Rob in Cirith Ungol for the second night, but it was there on the first night, and I did insist that we use it and put it up. And the first hit in Black Widow, instead of hitting the crashes, I hit a gong instead. I thought it was cool. Takes some getting used to, though. I'd like to practice it more and work the gong into the set somewhere, so that when one is at our disposal, we can use it, because I think it would make a pretty big impact.
of Steel! Have you guys having a good day so far? Are you fucking sure? All right. Thank you guys so very fucking much for being here tonight. Thank you, Randy, for putting on another Randy Fest. Big thanks to the venue here. Fucking cool place. Great fucking people here. Thank you guys again. We'll be here all weekend. We'll see you next time. From Ventura, California, Night Demon!
But it was a pretty good night, you know.
It was.
Had some good feedback from some people that we know, and that felt good. I felt like a pro band going in there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Kick-ass show. It was a packed night. A lot of friends in the crowd, and yeah, I have not much more to say than that. So on to day 3, for me at least. Starting the day with a set with my good buddies Blind Oath. So the Blind Oath thing, yeah, that came about earlier in the year. The guys had contacted me and basically saying, hey man, look, we're going to do this small run of shows with Anvil in the summer. And, you know, Stu, their drummer, was limited on how much time he could take off from work and, you know, all that. He's got a pretty young baby. And so it was like one of those things where he had to choose one or the other. So he decided to do the Anvil run, which actually ended up kind of getting fucked because their van broke down, so they actually didn't make most of those shows. But regardless, he saw the time off, so the guys hit me up, hey man, do you know anybody that might want to fill in? Because we really still really want to play the fest. So I thought about it for a bit. I had some ideas, but then I told the guys, well, I'm gonna be there. I know your songs very well since I did your record. I'll fill in. I'll play drums. Let's do it. And the guys are like, holy shit, really? Yeah, okay, let's do it. So basically, I just, worked on the shit at home. When we had some downtime when I was home, you know, in between all the Night Demon stuff, I would just practice to the album on my own. And it went pretty well. Their stuff's pretty fucking, I wouldn't say it's complicated, but, you know, there's some intricate parts. And, Stu's a really good drummer, so I was trying to capture, play all his parts well, and do it justice. So, yeah, we did a rehearsal, thought it went well, and the show was the next day. So we opened the show, so that was nice. Opened the show, and then that same night, I had to close the show with Cirith Ungol. It was a bit of a running joke during the festival, calling it the Armo Fest because I played both nights with 3 bands, which was fine with me. I really felt good about it. It was a good time. So yeah, that set went pretty damn good. A lot of people came out early to see the band. A lot of people didn't know I was filling in on drums, so they were surprised to see me back there like a fucking maniac, just bashing away. But always fun. I always loved playing drums once in a while, but it also reminded me how hard it is to play drums when you're not well practiced or well oiled. Like, I don't really play that much at home, so. But, just went for it anyway, helped the brothers out, and
Hey there, this is Mitch Gillum. I am rhythm guitarist of Blind Oath. Armo asked me to say a couple words about our set in Blades of Steel, and that is what I'm going to do. So, Randy had asked Blind Oath graciously a few years out, or at least a little over a year, of the 24 installment of Blades of Steel to play. And we had that on the books. We were overjoyed because we are still relatively new, and we didn't know that people like our band that much out of state to ask us to come play. So we were super obliged and had that on the books. And then we got asked by Anvil to do a tour earlier in August. And it came to our attention that our drummer, unfortunately, could not do both of those. And I had remembered Armo records basically all of our music. And whenever we were out in Ventura recording with him, he had made us privy to the fact that he is a drummer and a very good one at that. And he had said something like, so Mitch, or Mitchy baby. Hold on, I want to try to do a good Armo. So, yeah, Mitch, you ever need anybody to sit on that throne and Stu can't be there? I'd get back on it, or something to that Armand effect. And so I remembered that, reached out to Armo, and we made it happen. We had one day to rehearse. We got a space up there in Madison. And Armo blew us away. He was more prepared than us. He had asked to play Tombs at the Blind Oath, which we had not practiced in about a year. But of course, we had to do it for him. And we worked that up, and he just absolutely killed the set. He has the footage of it. There's a funny snafu where we go into the wrong song, but we pick it up perfect with him, and then I completely start playing the song absolutely incorrectly. So we had a little bit of like a Blind Oath Night Demon mashup, Captain Beefheart set for a little bit. But I think we really pulled it all together. We had glowing reviews from some great people up there like Mark Briety from Jag Panzer. And so I feel good about it working with what we had, and Armo just knocked it out of the goddamn park.
Got to see Armand play drums for Blind Oath. He was filling in for Blind Oath, our buddy's band from Tulsa. So that was pretty cool. So Armand played the night before, and Night Demon played drums that day for Blind Oath, and then played guitar that night for Cirith Ungol. So he was definitely the all-star that weekend.
So the Ungol guys finally got there that morning, I think, which is kind of a bummer because it was a long travel. I mean, the flight's not that bad. It's about 4 or 5 hours, it is what it is, but so they got there, which is the main point. It was a little bit boring at it, but it was kind of, we were kind of worried about it there for a minute, but the guys made it, and they showed up basically just in time to see me play drums for Blind Oath. I remember looking over and seeing Tim just like, cheering me on over there. So that was really cool of those guys, because I know they were probably tired from flying and all that shit, so.
The Ungol show went really well. It was packed in there, and there was a lot of people that had not seen the band before, so they were really stoked. And a lot of people that have and wanted to see us again, of course.
But yeah, man, it was a big set for us. A lot of people looking forward to seeing the band with the new lineup. I don't think we had played in the States at this point with just me on guitar. Yeah, because I guess the last show we did was at Hell's Heroes, and Greg was there. So, yeah, I remember feeling like I really had to, some big shoes to fill to play, all that stuff on my own for this crowd. Even though I had done it now in Europe and Ireland and all that, it was still like I had something to prove. I really wanted to, give it a good run. The guys from Greece were there, and just a lot of people really looking forward to that set.
One cool thing is that Manolis from Up the Hammers in Greece was there because his band Dexter Ward was playing. And he's been a lifelong Cirith Ungol fan. He really, though, gave Armand a lot of props and said he's like the new Jerry Fogel, like reincarnated. Not Jerry Fogel, the Subway a spokesman who molested the children.
It's an important distinction.
Jerry Fogel, the original guitarist of Cirith Ungol. So it was good to get his endorsement because, I mean, that's kind of what the band is now. It's me, Armand, Rob, and Tim. So, and that's what it's looking like it's going to be. So it was good that, you know, you kind of, we're always going to do our own thing, but you always kind of worry about, you know, what people who really care about the band think about the band, you know? I mean, you should always do what's right for you and what feels right to you, but you should also listen to your fans and critics to a certain extent, you know? And I mean, you want them to feel good about it, you know? So that was a good endorsement from him. He was genuinely happy with the way that things went.
So set list here is I'm Alive, Frost and Fire, Sailors on the Seas of Fate, Blood and Iron, Chaos Descends, Atom Smasher, Black Machine, Looking Glass, Forever Black, Master of the Pit, King of the Dead, Down Below, Paradise Lost, Join the Legion. Paradise Lost was kind of a newer one for me. I hadn't really played that song with them very much. But I think it went off pretty damn good. Yeah, man, I do remember feeling really proud of the way the set went and elated and emotional because, you know, you could really see, you know, people, these songs really, really connect with people, you know. There's something about this band that just really hits people in a certain way. So, you know, every time I play with them, it's like a really emotional, you know, roller coaster kind of, you know, depending on the songs. Like when I hear Tim sing some certain lyrics for certain songs, especially like I'm Alive, when he says, it's funny, like every time he sings the line of shiver, when I remember, I kind of get shivers. It's weird. I get the hairs on my back of my neck stand up, and it's just like, it's like, here we are, we're doing it, and I can't believe that I'm getting to play with these guys and play these legendary songs. other memorable note from the Madison, Wisconsin situation. Right down the street from our hotel, there's a placard, a stone placard, embedded in the ground on the sidewalk. And it has a title, says, Elvis Presley fight scene. So supposedly, on this site, the corner of Highway 51 and East Washington Avenue around 1 a.m. on June 24th, 1977, Elvis Presley was riding in the second of two limos which had stopped for a red light. He was coming from a concert in Des Moines and had just arrived in Madison. Elvis noted a young teen on the ground being beaten by two other youths here at the former Skyline service station. Elvis jumped out of his limo and moved quickly to the fight scene. They admitted later that they knew it was the legendary Elvis Presley who was standing in front of them in his classic karate stance saying, "I'll take you on." After a few classic karate moves by Elvis, the youths recognized him, stood and shook hands, and promised to stop fighting. Elvis asked, "Is everything settled now?" Elvis was on his way to the Sheraton and his last Madison appearance. He died 52 days later on August 16th, 1977. So there you go, a little bit of Elvis lore in Madison, Wisconsin.
So the boys play Flying V's, obviously, and you had your guitars in flight cases that were brought like into the cabin.
They're not flight cases, they're more like gig bags.
Okay, yeah.
So for one-off shows sometimes like this, when we bring one guitar, we'll fly them in a gig bag and we'll just take them on board with us because there's just no need to check it. It's an extra bag to pay for and it's just a quick trip and it's fine. Most of the overhead compartments fit the guitars easily. But on these newer planes, which this was a brand new plane, there was not room for it, or the overheads were full. I can't remember. It was one of the two. But anyway, they basically said that they couldn't fit it in the overheads, and I was like, well, shit, I guess I'll have to check it. And then the flight attendant was really nice. Normally, they are not very nice. They don't give a shit, and they're just like, you better do something with that, you know. But they're like, oh, this is your guitar. It's an instrument. This is probably really, special to you. And I said, yeah, of course. That's why I'm carrying it on board. And they said, well, we'll find a place for it. And then I was like, wow, that's amazing. They're like, just leave it with us. And then they said, yeah, you know what? We're going to put it in the cockpit. We have space.
It's going to fly the plane.
We have space in the cockpit. I said, no freaking way. And they actually did. And the pilot came out, right? Remember, he's like, is that a Flying V? Oh, awesome, right?
Well, not during the flight.
No, before we took off. Yeah.
So, so during the flight, like, I made a point of just, like, staying awake, and I asked one of the cabin crew, like, listen, it's a Flying V, we're flying. The pilots, they gotta get a picture with it, in the cockpit. So she's like, yeah, you know what, I play bass, so I'm gonna hook it up. So I was hoping they would do it up in the sky, but maybe that's a little sketch. So we were allowed to wait until everyone had like got off the plane, and we got it out of the case, and we got some cool pictures with the two pilots and the Flying V.
Yep. And it was pretty amazing, and Breeze Airways tagged us on Instagram or whatever. They shared the picture. Yeah. So, big ups to Breeze Airways. I would fly them again in a heartbeat.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for this week and the Blades of Steel Festival. If you are a subscriber, you can hear the full audio of Night Demon set in the subscribers area on nightdemon.net. That's in addition to the hundreds of live audio clips and photo galleries. Massive archive of all things Night Demon. Always some cool bonus content in there to go along with the episodes. This week we have the video of Armand and the crackhead trying to buy a burrito in the drive-thru. Some cool pictures of the guitars in the airplane. Again, that's nightdemon.net for more info on how you can become a subscriber. Until next time, this is Nesbitt signing off.
Thanks for listening to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. Head over to nightdemon.net, click on the subscriber tab, and sign up to access exclusive weekly bonus content. If you would like to donate to support the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, you can do so through PayPal at paypal.me/nightdemonmetal. Additionally, if you have not already done so, please subscribe, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
All hail, Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. This is Dusty Squires chiming in to tell you about my brand new signature sticks from the London Drumstick Company. I've dreamt of having my very own drumsticks ever since I was a wee lad, and LDC made that a possibility for me. Founded in 2016 in London, England, the birthplace of heavy metal, the London Drumstick Company has trailblazed a path through the music industry and taken the drummer world by storm. When I met them for the first time, they knew their product was going to withstand the beatings of a Night Demon show. They took the time to work with me on getting everything just right. The balance and weight of my sticks are the same no matter what, and the durability is bar none the best I've ever had. I know my sticks will last through the set night after night. I'm truly honored to work with a company that caters to their players the way LDC does. Their innovation and attention to detail is what separates them from the rest of the stick makers out there. Their custom stick sleeves are unbelievable and really make the entire presentation complete. Wait until you see the design they came up with for me. It blew my mind and was a surprise to say the least. They have all kinds of amazing swag, including hoodies, t-shirts, drummer shorts, drum keys, stick bags, towels, face masks, practice pads, and much, much more. Even if you're not a drummer, you can be a part of Demon history and order my brand new signature sticks direct from their website. How cool is that? And to top it off, the London Drumstick Company are giving an exclusive offer to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. Go to londondrumsticks.co.uk and receive a 15% store-wide discount using promo code DEMONSTICKS. All capital letters, no spaces, Demon Sticks. DEMONSTICKS. I can't thank everyone there enough for the opportunity to be a part of their family and for them trusting me with their amazing products. See you metal maniacs on the road very soon. And yes, the wood chips will be flying.
Greetings, boils and ghouls. This is your comrade, the Crypt Keeper here, reporting dead from the sanctuary of the strange. Tonight's macabre myth is a fright-filled feature, one overflowing with monsters, madness, and magic.
Visit our website at monstersmadnessandmagic.com to stay up to date on all the dark dealings within the sanctuary of the strange. Enjoy the show.
Hey Metalheads, I'm Mark and I host the Metal Forge. Let me tell you about the show. The Metal Forge features the best underground metal from all over the world. We spend every week with a different artist with interviews, in-depth conversations, and most of all, the music. We also feature audience interactivity where you can submit your questions to the upcoming guests. New episodes are out every Friday at noon Eastern Time at metalforgeradio.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music?
Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Okay, metalheads, you've been complaining that there has not been a channel that plays all of the heavy metal videos from past, present, and future for years and years at this point. Well, that time is over. Heavy Metal Television is back. HeavyMetalTelevision.net is the website. Go there. You can see videos playing 24/7, 365, all the time, all the best from the old school, the new school, and everything in between. Check it out, HeavyMetalTelevision.net. It is where the metal is.